Good evening and welcome to 6 News. I'm Rose Claire. Behind me, KU professors and students protest concealed carry at Wesco Hall. Here at Sunflower Elementary, the whole point of this event is to get students excited about being outside and getting back on their bikes. A Eudora daycare worker appears in court today for the first time following the September death of a 9-month-old baby.
So here we have the snake Elvira. This is a common king snake, or a speckled snake, which you can tell by the speckles.
And here at the site of the burned vehicle, what we can see now, aside from some melted metal and some pieces of debris, there is a piece of the Honda plate, so we do know what type of car it is from that. This part of the Lawrence Loop here at Burroughs Creek Trail starts all the way back at Rock Chalk Park and ends right here at East 11th Street between Haskell and Oregon. It picks up again about 1.5 miles down the road, over here at the trail leading to Bircham Park. USD 497 Superintendent Kyle Hayden is resigning, but he'll stay within the school district. Lawrence students learn about where their food comes from. Find out the details tonight at 6.
Hey Stephanie, well as you can see I couldn't help myself. I had to try this chili for myself and I must say it's pretty good. Now what we have here, we're at the 31st annual event of this. It's been growing considerably over the years to what we have here today. We've made about 500 plates of this chili for people to come and enjoy both meat and vegetarian varieties. And I have with me now the school principal, Nancy DeGarmo, to tell us a little bit about this event. Why is Martin Luther King Day so important to you guys?
We get to know USD 497's newest board member.
I'm at the KU Engineering Expo playing with non-Newtonian fluid. Find out what that means tonight at 6.
The House K-12 Budget Committee will likely meet as early as this Wednesday to vote on a new formula for the school finance bill. I'll have what you need to know tonight at 6.
I had the difficult job of checking out food in Lawrence today. See the story about that tonight at 6.
As the Lawrence School's mail-in bond election approaches, we take a look at another school in need of major changes.
Hi, I'm Ashley.
Ashley competed on a reality show in Fiji and she survived to tell me all about it.
Story tonight at 6.
As you can see, this robot took quite the beating over the weekend, but the Basehor Linwood High School students still fared pretty well. KU Public Safety says crime is up by 2%, but probably not in the area you would think.
Lawrence schools look to approve an $87 million makeover coming up this spring. 6 News looks into claims of unfair treatment against a KU women's basketball player after she reported a crime committed by a KU male basketball player. Residents react to gunshots heard Friday night in an otherwise seemingly peaceful neighborhood.
I'm at Capitol Federal Hall, KU School of Business, where staff tells me that the design of this building is all about transparency. And though the building's modern and progressive on the inside, the architects tell me that the staff wanted to keep the red roof and limestone the same as the other buildings on the outside, for sake of tradition.
Following last month's community conversation on race, the Lawrence School District looks ahead to improve equity relations.
Hi, I'm Madison.
Madison posted a video on Facebook, and now one of the banners in the Lawrence High School gymnasium lobby is missing.
See the story tonight at 6.
Krista, with these so-called chicken wars, I visited restaurants like Popeyes, Raising Cane's, nationwide chains like Chick-fil-A. On to the construction site where Zaxby's will be opening next month. And here we are now at Slim Chickens to see what people are getting their feathers all ruffled about.
What you see here amid all this construction is the beginnings of the Career and Tech Ed Center at BLHS. We put on our hard hats and took a look around.
Gets to be able to pay these meters with a credit card instead of looking for that quarter you never seem to be able to find. The city has plans for a large shopping center just south of the SLT. Find out the details tonight at 6.
Stephanie, this is all the snow here left over from that snowfall that happened late last night into this morning. But earlier today, it was a different story. We just arrived here on scene at the 1300 block of Crosswinds Court, and behind me there was an apartment building that was completely engulfed in flames, neighbors say, and now it's been put out, as you can see, and on the other side it looks pretty bad as well, but firemen are working in and out of there just trying to clear it out. And I'm told so far neighbors don't know of any injuries, but I do have a relative of a neighbor here with me. Mandy, can you come over here, please? Yes.
I'm live outside of the Eudora School District offices where a school board meeting is about to start. And before we go in, there's actually a parent here who's going to run for school board member because he's unhappy with issues of lack of transparency and communication within the school district. His name is Eric Allender. Eric, tell us a little bit about your situation.
Yeah, so the situation, Rose, is that we saw a thread on Facebook where some parents were talking about bullying and a lot of other issues that they had with the school board. And we became concerned when they asked for a meeting with the school board and nobody responded. So, or from 6:30 to 7 o'clock, excuse me, at the same location. And then we'll kind of get their concerns from there.
Okay, thank you, Eric. And the reason that Facebook post that he was talking about started was because a parent was unhappy about a bullying issue that occurred in the school. And while bullying sometimes can be unavoidable, her issue is that she was saying that the school did not handle it appropriately. This is Angie Lee. And Angie, what happened with the school that you had hoped was handled differently?
Well, really, I felt like I hit a brick wall trying to get anything accomplished or resolved with my children's situation. Well, I really wish they would have listened to the parents' concerns, have a community meeting, or even just to sit down, like Eric had mentioned, to help us with that.
And you'll plan on attending that meeting then to try to address something?
In August, I do plan on attending the board meeting to try to get supervision for the trail where all the altercations have happened.
Okay, and that trail she's talking about was where bullying was encountered with her child. So now, Stephanie, I also do want to mention that there were several parents that do say that bullying is an issue here, but also many other parents who say that while their child may have been bullied, that the situation was handled by the school immediately and effectively. And I also, a little bit earlier today, spoke with one parent who served on the board a couple terms, who said that a lot of times the school wants to communicate certain things, but are unable to because their hands are tied due to confidentiality. So let's hear from Belinda Reamer now.
It's frustrating to the schools, it's frustrating to the teachers, it's frustrating to the administration that they can't stand up and say, look, this is what we did, and this is what we continue to do, and this is how we handled that situation, because then you're breaking confidentiality, and you just can't do that.
And when I reached out to the school district about this, I received the following statement from the school's director of communication saying, Eudora school leaders have a long and productive history of working with families, law enforcement, and a range of community partners to ensure that the schools are a safe and healthy learning environment for every student. So we will see if any of this is addressed tonight. I'm about to head into this board meeting right now, and I will keep you updated with the latest. Live in front of the Eudora School District, Rose Claire for 6 News. Back to you, Stephanie.
Well, another hot topic at the Capitol is concealed carry on campus. And as that July 1st date for guns to be legally carried on KU's campus, some professors have resigned or taken early retirement to avoid the situation. 6 News' Rose Claire spoke to one of those professors as well as others on campus, and she joins us live at KU with the story. Rose.
Stephanie, that professor, Jacob Dorman, has left KU and the state, but he tells me he's not the only professor to have done so, to have left for that reason. Meanwhile, another professor telling me he's not going anywhere just yet, but that he does worry he may have to censor his lectures in the future.
Professor Jacob Dorman taught history and American studies at the University of Kansas for a decade until this past May, when he resigned for fear of working on a campus that allows guns.
Concealed carry on campus at KU will make it more difficult to recruit top candidates to come to KU in the future.
The 2013 law allowing concealed weapon carry inside government buildings temporarily excluded universities. But that ends this July, and Professor Dorman didn't want to stick around for that.
Responsible gun owners are not the problem. The problem, it seems to me, is that there are so many irresponsible gun owners or possessors.
According to data from Everytown for Gun Safety, nearly 1 in 6 school campus shootings between 2013 and 15 happened because of the presence of a gun, not in spite of it. And though Dorman's not the first to resign since the law's passing 4 years ago, other professors plan to stay on, though not without caution.
Are you going to not put those questions into the room that you know will cause people to become agitated or that are controversial? I'd like to believe no. That is my job. That is my mission. But I'll think twice about it.
And Professor Kennedy's not alone in his thinking. Some students feel the same.
The reason I like to go to college is because professors are so uncensored, and we're choosing to be here and we're putting ourselves out there. And I think that's actually really going to be taken away with this law.
Meaning the fight for Second Amendment rights could essentially affect professors' First Amendment rights, which is why Professor Dorman's using his to speak out about the issue.
And safety may not be the only issue and concern here with this new law. Additional costs can be a concern as well. In 2014 in Idaho, 5 state schools had to request nearly $4 million in just the first year alone that guns were allowed on campus. So that may be a concern here in the near future as well.
All right, thank you, Rose. And we reached out to the National Rifle Association, who responded saying it's disappointing that a college professor would allow his anti-gun bias to get in the way of the facts. Welcome to 6 News. I'm Stephanie Bryan. A standoff earlier this month in Southwest Lawrence had some neighbors concerned with the way police handled the situation. 6 News' Rose Claire looked into the complaints and joins us with this story. Rose.
Stephanie, earlier this month, Lawrence police spent several hours on the 2500 block of Scottsdale. And while some residents say they weren't notified of the situation, overall, residents there and in other parts of Lawrence say police were just doing their job.
Just finishing lunch, and I looked up out my living room window. There was evidently a police officer.
Resident Charles Gilmore says he wishes the Lawrence police took time to inform him on the morning of the April 4th standoff that happened just down his street that landed police and their guns on his yard.
At no time did they knock on my door or ring my doorbell and see if I was home and tell me what was going on.
But while 6 News received similar anonymous complaints, most residents who witnessed police the day of the standoff say they were just doing their job, and residents closer to the incident say they spoke with police.
I never felt threatened or worried, really. I didn't really feel like they needed to tell me about it. You know, I'm sure they just needed to deal with whatever problem they had.
They were very kind, very helpful.
Another Lawrence resident says a few years ago, her friend dealt with a similar situation on Naismith when she found police on her neighbor's yard.
And was just super alarmed and didn't know what was going on because they weren't notified and had to read about it in the news later to figure out what was going on.
And over the bridge in North Lawrence, resident Bruce Barlow says he's experienced a similar situation with police on his lawn. But he too says police were just doing their job.
If I saw an episode next door, I don't believe that it's their job to come knocking on my door and say, we're going to have an episode next door, so watch out.
In an email, police responded saying, though difficult and unpredictable situations, the LPD does its best to communicate a given situation to neighbors. Still, Charles Gilmore says of the April 4th standoff in his area,
I felt they could have been more concerned about my physical safety, especially since they were using my house as cover.
And Stephanie, the Lawrence Police Department told me in an email that they don't have a specific protocol for notifying neighbors of situations like this one. They say it's done on a case-by-case basis, and they do their best to communicate with property owners about what's going on. For 6 News, I'm Rose Claire. Back to you, Stephanie.
Well, just a few weeks ago, 6 News brought you along to the farm as students learned about their food. Well, today, that learning experience continues, this time at the fairgrounds. 6 News' Rose Claire checked out the Body Venture trip and has this story. Rose.
Stephanie, today I watched students travel throughout the human body in an interactive exhibit that actually travels throughout Kansas. Take a look.
Now I know when my mom and dad say to eat your fruits and vegetables, that they mean it.
Nearly 800 second graders within the Lawrence school system are learning the human body inside out.
The Body Venture is about understanding all the different components of your body, and it starts in the mouth and you work through the entire digestive system.
Consisting of 10 body function stations, the exhibit starts with the brain.
And the brain is in control of everything we do. We come out of there and they go in the mouth, they chew up, they go down into the stomach and get a little smaller.
And speaking of stomach, this exit right here is designed for students who may not be able to stomach the human lung that they're shown in the lung room over there.
Then we go into the small intestine where we're absorbed with water and the nutrients get into the bloodstream. And the bones, the muscles, and the skin, and where we come out at the very back, there's a cut in the skin and we are an excretion in the blood, and that's how we exit the body.
The Kansas Department of Education's exhibit travels the whole state of Kansas. And as it came to Lawrence, the Douglas County Fairgrounds offered up the space for free, which the coordinators appreciated. But maybe not as much as the students.
I learned what lungs look like when you smoke a lot.
What did it teach you about smoking?
To not smoke or your lungs can hurt and it's hard to breathe. Like learning that my skin is a giant organ, I had no idea about that, and learning how to keep my body healthier.
A good way to end the school year, before students get the chance to turn into couch potatoes for the summer.
Good evening and welcome to 6 News. I'm Stephanie Bryan. The North Lawrence Improvement Association held its community meeting last night, but this time residents were met by a police officer. They weren't in trouble. It's a rare community and police Q&A the association holds. 6 News' Rose Claire was at the meeting and has the details. Rose.
Stephanie, the first question raised by a resident during last night's Q&A was regarding an increase in police presence, which some community members had already mentioned to me ahead of that meeting. So I looked into why that might be happening in North Lawrence right now.
I'd rather spend time on what you want to know about first.
In Monday night's North Lawrence community meeting, Police Chief Tarek Khatib gave residents a chance to ask questions regarding neighborhood issues. And the first hand that went up addressed something 6 News has heard from other residents.
I just noticed this last week that for a couple days it seemed like every 10 minutes there was a patrol car going back one direction or the other along there. And that seemed unusual.
Resident Natalia Lowther says after some recent difficulties with her neighbors, the increased police presence in North Lawrence has her feeling more secure. Police Chief Tarek Khatib says they use data-driven approaches to crime, looking at maps to find out statistically where more crimes occur.
So if you're seeing a lot of police activity in North Lawrence, it may be in regards to a crime location, burglaries, auto burglaries, a drug house.
So I checked out the data. Using a random North Lawrence address, I looked only at residential burglaries, the crime I heard most from North Lawrence residents. And what I found is 21 burglaries over the past year. By comparison, in West Lawrence, a 1-mile radius on West 6th Street shows 17 burglaries. Still, looking at Lawrence as a whole, there doesn't appear to be a large difference in crime between the north and the rest of the city. But that wasn't always the case. Chief Khatib says it's come a long way in recent years.
26 years ago, North Lawrence was an area where we spent a lot of time. We had fights and shootings and gangs and crimes here.
So maybe that added police presence can at least partly explain North Lawrence's cleanup.
And the meeting had a fairly small attendance, but most residents seemed satisfied with the talk with Police Chief Khatib. North Lawrence meets about once a month, but this was a special one. The president of the North Lawrence Association telling me they only meet with the police chief about once every 3 years. For 6 News, I'm Rose Claire. Stephanie?